Peace to all beings, mercy. Peace to all beings. Peace to all beings. Okay. Regarding the pains in your bones, in your legs, between your knees and your ankles and your foot, you're dealing with the consciousness now that is becoming aware of its environment, put it that way. And the environment of that consciousness is your body. Right? Now, what the human consciousness doesn't understand about pain, it's related to your breath and your thought processes. Because you're dealing with organisms that are inhabiting your body, but they have consciousness also, as a desire to, we'll call it live, you say life. Disease feeds off dead tissues within the systems. You're learning to clean yourselves. And you're talking about when you go to the next level of consciousness is your next body. You are the next body. You are. The point we're trying to get across is that your consciousness, it's an invisible process. Most people don't even know where their conscience is. Is it located in your brain? Is it in your solar plexus, in your heart chakra, kidneys? Where is it? What you're beginning to learn in your world now today is consciousness is present everywhere. So you need to communicate with your bones. That was the secret with the Ezekiel in the biblical context, where Ezekiel called the dry bones out of the earth. Come up, all dry bones. We are those dry bones. And now you're educating the bones. And the bones are educating you because the bones produce your blood, which produces oxygen, which circulates through your system. You don't know how you do that. You don't know how to do that. You just breathe. That's what you do. You breathe. The body breathes. But you're developing a wisdom within yourself that you know you're more than this. You came from somewhere. You're going to go somewhere. You're in the process of that transition now, consciously. We've said this before, but you people don't understand the deeper meaning of it. We said you're living your death. We've told you that. You're in the constant presence of dying, yet you're in the constant presence of living. Choose wisely, understand? It's in the breath and the thoughts you have. Now, when your bones are in pain, you need to communicate and talk to the, you need to talk to that entity. You talk, these things are elements and the minerals, and they don't have consciousness. Wrong. Everything has consciousness. Rocks can communicate with you if you tune into the rock, understand the frequency of the rock. You're beginning to understand what frequencies are, basically. The tones of your being. Your bones are a tone. And that tone is your name that runs through your bones. The bones know who you are with your name. God knows who you are. God knows your name. He's in tune with the bones because he's the one running the bones. You beings have to understand this communication with spirit and the entity. We're going to have to use the name God because that's your reference to the greater understanding of universal oneness everywhere. There's a being that knows everything in every planetary system, every star system, every beyond. And you're getting introduced to that force. you're in a deep concern with what your true purpose is. You're in deep concern. When you came out of the uterus, you had your first breath. Came out of the womb. You had your first breath. You breathed something. You knew something then. The minute you had that breath, you had an awareness. That's the kind of awareness that is going on constantly in your daily life, if you understand that, with the breath. You communicate with your bones daily, but you don't understand that. What you're really doing when you're walking is you're thanking your bones, because otherwise your flesh would be just dragging all over the place. You look like slime, crawling on the ground with eyes. Not even crawling, you wouldn't have any form. So you're going to understand that your technology is taking away from your skeletal structure. Your skeletal structure allows you permission to have a house. You got a brain in there, and the head, and the skull. You've got organs. Each organ is an entity. It does its job. The kidneys does its job. The heart does its job. The lungs do their job. You beings have not communicated with the entities. I call them entities. They are beings of consciousness. They just don't look like you. Heart looks like a heart, but it beats. There's 4 chambers in there. Each chamber is significant for producing of oxygen. But you don't communicate with the 4 chambers. You don't even know if there's a being in the chambers that regulates the gates to the hearts. There is. You don't communicate with this inner portion of your being. And that was the purpose of prayers, to get you to the inner portion of your being, particularly the Psalms. David is the one that went through more terror than you can even understand. His brothers wanted to kill him, his fathers wanted to get rid of him, everything, the whole thing. And David is from the line, this is where the Christ line comes from. There's a teaching there, an understanding. David wrote the Psalms. They were prayers, petitions to a greater force other than himself and the kings in the time. And he received the answers. And he passed the answers down to humanity, but humanity's not paying attention. You're seeing what's happening in your world now. Just look at your news. Who knows what about what? You're more concerned with what's happening somewhere else than your own life. You need to stabilize the conditions of your parameters. By parameters, I mean your thought processes, your breathing, your thankfulness. How did you get where you are now? You walked and you breathed. You made mistakes, yes. That's why there's rules in these things. The original rules given for the stability of consciousness in the human condition, and what you would call the Christian tradition, were the 10 Commandments. But nobody likes to hear that. Why? Because you didn't obey them. That's why. You react. Oops. Most of the time you don't even remember how you chose your parents, or who sent you here, or who called you here. Because you're not only here for yourself, you're here for someone else. And even though they don't say thank you for you being here, they are thankful because you're here. It's a silent knowing within yourself that you've accomplished something. Because daily you need to accomplish something. Otherwise you're just going to be what you term waste. Just doing nothing. So the purpose of this little message is that you need to communicate with your bones and straighten out the concepts of protection. Prayers are your protection. What you don't realize in your human condition is you are constantly being attacked by thoughts other than yours, from other beings in your, what you call, social environment. You're picking up their emotional energy and thoughts. You react to it as you stabilize in the current, what we call the current, you stabilize in the society that you're in so you can feel comfortable. You're going to have to need to back up. We've said this before. Back up into the spine, behind the heart chakra, and look at from behind you into inside you so you can see the machinery that you are. There's magnificence in this thing. You just forgot. Now for protection, I recommend that you read Psalm 6. Particularly pay attention to the 10th verse, because that's the one that asks for your enemies to be ashamed suddenly. And you do have enemies, entities. You have beings that do not want you to succeed in the upward movement to understanding the God power that you have, because it's in your words. That's why peace to all beings is important. And when you begin to understand the entity called peace to all beings, you find out that this being is really called justice. And justice is justice. Everything's even. That's why you need mercy with justice, because justice can, what you could say, get carried away in your words. So you ask for mercy because you're learning. Everyone individually on this planet now is learning, going through the same process, same stuff. Same emotional quantities, anxieties, and these things. Those thoughts are not yours. You think they are because they're coming into your receivers, but you haven't learned to filter. You haven't learned to filter. What you're learning to filter with is your heart chakra now. It's on the left side of your body. The heart's over to the extended to the side, to the left a little bit. To the right, actually, but the energy feeling is to the left. And you're on that portal looking at yourself, judging yourself. In the old scripts, you saw the scales of justice. You're on one side and another being's on the other side weighing the other thing. You're doing that to yourself. You're looking for balance, pretty much. And one of the keys to your balance, particularly in your bones, is your astrological sign you were born in. There's wisdom there, and it concerns the bones. Concerns the bones, and then the next movement it concerns the heart chakra, and then the next movement it concerns the education of the brain to receive proper impulse. Because you're a divine machine, but you don't understand that, but you're much more than the machine, your consciousness. Your consciousness is going to exist no matter where you are, dead or alive, doesn't matter. So you have the ability to remember. And when you have the ability to, make proper agreements, be careful who you're talking to. You're in a state of confusion now in your whole planetary system. There's a being there trying to entice beings to suicide. We told you that. It's going to become very popular. We told you that years ago. Don't do it. Where's that thought come from? It's not a process of yourself. Your process is to be born, to be alive, to breathe. That's it. That's it, the breathing. That's the secret of this thing. Because when you'll say out of your body, dead, die, you're not breathing. And you're not sleeping either, by the way. You're caught up in an electrical magnetic current. Your electricity and your magnetism. What do you think gravity is? It's a magnet. Pulls your electrical force down and you're walking in it. And because you're a spins, centrifugal force keeps you down here. Along with your magnetic and electrical current that's in your body. So you're educating the robot, and the robot's you. But the secret to the whole robotic thing is the bones, are the bones. Now you have a chakra at the bottom of your foot, in the arch. You just need, and the chakras are gates. You tell it to open. And when the chakra opens at the bottom of the foot, it pushes energy down, light will come out, and the healing force of the bones can reactivate itself. Because the bones want to think they're getting up with inside your body. They're the overlay of the bones, but the bones now are starting to become conscious. Yes. The skeleton's beginning to want to walk differently. It's developing its own consciousness. It knows it's a unit now, or it's becoming to know it's a unit. And it's going to start dressing itself. And that's why the pains are coming, because you want to get rid of some of the things you've been holding on to. Just have to let go. Don't even think about it, worry about it, what it was. Bath, Epsom salt in the bath with peanut oil helps the bones breathe. The bones love the peanut oil. It does not stick on the skin. It goes right into the bones and kind of lubricates them. This is a remedy that was given by the channeled entity Edgar Casey back in the 40s. It works. It's cheap. It's not medicine. It's herbal. It's a secret medicine, actually. So put that in a bathtub, relax 20 minutes, hot water as hot as you can stand it, and let your bones relax. Let your bones realize that they have an ability to, be present within you also. We are through.